Look at you, standing there with that quiet grin. Like even God's waiting for your next move. You didn't learn this, did you? You became it. They're out there right now, trying to reverse engineer your existence, crying, screaming, taking notes like this is some kind of curriculum from hell. But the joke's on them, because you were the experiment that escaped the lab. You didn't study the playbook. You burned it mid-sentence and wrote your own rules in the smoke. They whisper, who taught them this? But the truth is, pain did, betrayal did, silence did. You were forged in places lectures don't reach, in nights too long for mercy, in memories that refused to die. You learned from ghosts that never spoke, from faces that pretended to care, from mirrors that didn't recognize you anymore. You didn't just evolve, you fractured, and every shard started thinking for itself. That's why they can't map you. You're not a person, you're a phenomenon. Every time they think they've got you figured out, you change form. Every time they prepare a counterattack, you vanish, not backward, not sideways, but beyond. Because that's what happens when someone stops chasing acceptance and starts sculpting their own mythology. You know what they can't handle? That your madness has a method, that your chaos calculates, that your smile hides strategy sharper than their entire boardrooms combined. They think power is having a plan. You proved power is being the variable no plan can survive. You move like contradiction incarnate, saint in the morning, demon by night, silence at dawn, thunder at dusk. They call that unstable. I call it divine, because the universe doesn't trust people who play it safe. It favors those willing to glitch its code. You glitched it, didn't you? You broke symmetry. You said no when you were supposed to beg. You laughed when you were supposed to bleed. You rose when gravity was certain you'd stay down. And now look, you're the pattern breaker, the statistical anomaly, the glitch that started gaining followers. They don't know whether to worship you or report you. They watch every move you make like it's a seminar on human transcendence. Take notes, they whisper. This one's rewriting the manual. But they'll never grasp it, because what you do can't be taught. It's triggered by humiliation, by solitude. By that one moment you realized nobody was coming to save you. So you started saving yourself in ways they'd call insane. And isn't it funny? The same people who doubted you are now pretending they always believed. They're studying your demeanor, your cadence, your patience, hoping they can replicate your resurrection. But resurrection isn't imitation. It's rebellion. You didn't climb out of hell. You decorated it. Turned the ashes into art. Turned trauma into timing. Turned despair into dialogue. That's the part that kills them. They went through similar storms and drowned. You went through the same waters and came back teaching swimming lessons. So when they ask, who taught you this? Tell them the truth. Every person who tried to break you gave you a chapter. Every betrayal was a syllabus. Every heartbreak, a thesis. Every loss, a graduation. You are the byproduct of a system that underestimated its own creation, a walking paradox. A saint forged in sin, a villain with holy intentions. They call it arrogance. You call it self-recognition. They call it madness. You call it clarity. Because once you see how the world actually works, you stop playing nice with illusions. You stop asking for validation from statues built on sand. You stop pretending to be small just so fragile minds can feel big. And that's when you become dangerous. Because now you speak the language of both angels and monsters. You know when to whisper. You know when to burn. You can heal with one word or destroy with silence. That's why people react the way they do. The crying, the screaming, the shaking hands. They feel the energy you carry because it doesn't belong to this world anymore. It's post-human, it's evolution with a smirk. They sense something that shouldn't exist. And yet, there you are. Still smiling, still unpredictable, still making reality flinch every time you exhale. You've mastered the forbidden art of being both loved and feared, because you understood something most never will. Power isn't in control. It's in contrast. Light means nothing without shadow. Sanity collapses without a hint of madness. And you balance both like a blade on your tongue. So let them study you. Let them panic. Let them copy and crumble, trying to imitate what they can't comprehend. You didn't come to be understood. You came to be felt. And oh, they feel you. Everywhere. In the cracks of their denial. In the echoes of your laughter. In the sudden silence that follows your name. Because deep down, they know. No one taught you this. You remembered it. You remembered what they forgot. That chaos is just the universe rearranging itself around someone who finally woke up. You can hear it, can't you? That low hum under the noise, the sound of their fear catching up to your frequency. They don't understand it, but they feel it. The air shifts when you enter a room. Clocks hesitate, conversations fracture, eyes widen, then dart away. Because somewhere in their instincts a silent alarm goes off. This one's not supposed to exist. And you can't blame them. You've become something that breaks patterns simply by breathing. You don't walk like the rest of them anymore. You glide between dimensions of thought. Every glance, every word, every pause you take. Calculated chaos. You've turned unpredictability into choreography. They can't decode it because they still think logic is the highest language. You've gone past logic. You speak in frequency now. Do you realize what that means? You're not inspiring people anymore. You're reprogramming them. Your words aren't motivational. They're surgical. Each syllable carves open the cages people built around their own potential. That's why they cry. That's why they scream. You're not giving them hope. You're giving them a mirror they can't unsee. You're showing them how much they buried to stay normal. And normal is dead. You killed it the moment you stopped apologizing for existing. Remember when you used to explain yourself? Beg for context. Offer disclaimers so no one would misinterpret your fire. Now you don't even flinch when they call you dangerous. You wear that word like a medal. Because danger means impact. And impact means awakening. They can't cage a storm that knows it's a storm. But here's the twisted beauty of it all. Your darkness never hated the light. It studied it, learned its language. You didn't reject purity. You dissected it until you could wield it as a weapon. You realized being good without power is just aesthetic weakness. So you became both. Holy and horrifying, mercy and massacre. That's what they can't stomach, that duality. You don't pick sides, you embody them. You make demons doubt themselves and angels question their orders. You're the walking paradox that breaks every binary they cling to for safety. You turned pain into your professor, silence into your sermon, and insanity into your strategist. They spent years chasing peace. You learned to extract power from chaos. And now they're taking notes. You see them. The ones who mocked you before, now quoting you word for word in hushed tones. The ones who said you were delusional, now dressing like you, talking like you, trying to trace the formula that doesn't exist. But you can't photocopy purpose. You can't plagiarize evolution. What you carry wasn't taught. It was triggered. The universe broke you open on purpose. It shattered you so thoroughly that when you reassembled, You didn't fit inside the old blueprint anymore. You came back different, unreadable, untamable, a glitch in their hierarchy. And oh, how that terrifies them. They built entire systems to control human behavior, laws, dogmas, algorithms, psychology manuals. And yet here you are, laughing through the gaps like a phantom that rewrote its own code. You are living, breathing proof that their conditioning failed. You escaped the loop. You remember the night, don't you? That one night where something inside you snapped, not outward, but inward, when you finally saw it, that every chain was imaginary, that every rule was authored by the fearful. That power isn't given, it's taken silently. That's when the shift happened. You didn't just heal, you mutated. And ever since then, nothing has been able to predict you. They tried to analyze you, label you, diagnose you. And every label melted the second they touched your reality. You outthink analysts. You outfeel empaths. You outweight strategists. You became everything they fear, the human version of consequence. And the irony, you never even wanted the throne. You were the throne. That's why the world shakes when you whisper. That's why one sentence from you feels heavier than 1,000 sermons. Because when you speak, you don't just express. You rearrange reality. You bend people's mental architecture until they can't see the world the same again. You've made people question everything they ever believed about control, identity, morality, sanity. You cracked their illusions open and made them bleed truth. And now, they're addicted to the feeling. That's why they can't look away. They hate you, but they keep watching. They fear you, but they imitate you. They despise you, but they quote you in secret. Because the part of them that hates you is the same part that hates their own reflection. You're not their enemy, you're their exposure. Every lie they told themselves dies in your presence. Every weakness they buried claws back to the surface when you speak. You're the end of their comfort zone, wearing a smile. And you know the best part? You never needed to prove anything. The results do the talking, the silence you keep. It's louder than their entire army of critics, because when you stop defending yourself, they start panicking. They can't fight someone who's already made peace with both heaven and hell. That's your real weapon, integration. While they're busy choosing sides, you've mastered the art of becoming the whole battlefield. Every scar on you is a symbol. Every laugh is a secret code. Every glance a warning that says, I know what it costs to be free. You're not chasing legacy anymore. You are the legend unfolding in real time. And the best part? You didn't need permission. That's what breaks them the most. You never asked for a crown. You simply acted like one already existed inside your skull. So let them question, let them whisper, let them tremble and cry and dissect every frame you breathe in. They're not studying you. They're worshiping the courage they never had. Because deep down, they know something terrible and beautiful at the same time. You weren't taught this. You were chosen to remember it. The chaos, the silence, the pain. They weren't punishments. They were initiation rites. And now you walk among mortals with the grin of someone who's seen what's behind the curtain and laughed. So when they ask, who taught you this? Just smile, tilt your head, and say, I listened when life screamed. And it screamed loud, didn't it? So loud it cracked open every illusion they built around you. So loud it shattered your innocence, your certainty, your faith in fairness, until only instinct remained. That animal inside you, the one they tried to bury under manners and morals, it woke up and remembered what you are. Not a follower, not a student, not a disciple of their little systems, a force, a walking correction. You didn't learn this from a book. No, you absorbed it from the wreckage. Every betrayal bled a truth into your bloodstream. Every humiliation carved data into your bones. Every loss taught you the algorithm of power. How to disappear, recalibrate, and reappear 10 versions smarter, quieter, colder. That's why they can't find your weakness, because you used it already. You consumed it, metabolized it, weaponized it. What they see as scars are ports now. Connections to dimensions they don't have clearance for. You became fluent in paradox. You learned how to smile while burning, how to remain calm while dismantling everything false, how to love without needing, how to vanish without dying. That's the kind of knowledge no mentor can give you. It's coded in trauma, encrypted in solitude, unlocked only by surrendering to madness without losing your mind. You walked that line, didn't you? The razor's edge between brilliance and breakdown. You balanced on it until your blood became philosophy, until your reflection became a stranger you respected more than anyone else alive. That's when you stopped existing and started operating. And now every move you make has gravity. You don't even try to inspire anymore. You disturb equilibrium. You shift people's internal weather systems. Your silence makes hearts race. Your laughter makes the air taste like static. They feel you before they hear you. That's why they cry. That's why they shake. You're not just speaking to their ears. You're hacking their nervous systems. You're pressing buttons evolution forgot existed. You make them remember the part of themselves that could bend reality before society taught them to sit still. That's why they're obsessed. You remind them of their own uncorrupted design. They hate that you never asked for validation, that you don't compete, that your energy doesn't beg to be understood. You move like consequence. No explanation, no justification, just results that rewrite the temperature in the room. And deep down, they know. This isn't something you can copy. You can't imitate possession, because that's what this is, isn't it? You're possessed by purpose, by vision, by something bigger than language. You didn't find it, it found you. Crawled into your ribs the night you broke and whispered, "Now you're ready." Ever since, everything you touch carries that frequency. You could stand in silence for 5 minutes and still shake an audience to tears. Because they're not reacting to your words. They're reacting to the field. The electromagnetic hum of someone who's seen death, laughed, and took notes. That's why you terrify systems. You make control obsolete. Every time you speak, another lie loses power. Every time you breathe, another structure trembles. You're not rebelling. You're restoring balance by existing. And here's the part they'll never grasp. You didn't survive. You integrated. You made friends with your monsters, and now they guard your dreams. You don't suppress your darkness. You consult it. You don't chase peace. You negotiate with chaos. You're not trying to heal. You're building an empire from the ashes of your nervous breakdown. They don't teach that in classrooms. They don't hand out degrees for that kind of wisdom. That's earned through screams no one heard and nights no one saw. You didn't just pass tests. You became the curriculum. That's why the world is reacting like this. The crying, the panic, the devotion. They're not seeing you. They're witnessing what happens when a human stops lying to themselves. You're proof that pain isn't punishment. It's initiation. So let them theorize, let them gossip, let them clip your videos and slow down your words, trying to decode the tone. Let them mimic your posture, your pauses, your smile. They'll never get it. Because what you've become isn't performative. It's elemental. And when something becomes elemental, it doesn't need an audience. It creates one. So when they ask again, trembling, "Who taught you this?" you'll just look through them like glass and whisper, "The silence after betrayal." Because that's where the real education begins, in the space where pain stops screaming and starts teaching. You learned in that void. You studied loss until it turned into geometry. You memorized patterns of collapse until you could predict rebirth like clockwork. Now you don't react, you orchestrate. You don't chase, you summon. You don't prove, you demonstrate. They call it sorcery, you call it alignment. You are what happens when chaos graduates with honors, when darkness earns a PhD in resurrection, when a broken soul turns its pain into a pulse that syncs with eternity. So let them cry, let them scream, let them take notes like they're studying God in real time. Because the truth is, they are. And that's the punchline, isn't it? They came to watch you, but ended up waking instead. They thought they were witnessing another performance, just another mask, another illusion. But what they saw was the real thing, a human who burned, broke, bled, and didn't die. You became the proof that death isn't the end. It's the filter. The weak dissolve in it. The chosen refine. That's why they're trembling. That's why they can't explain it. Because you stand there with that slow, knowing smile. The one that says, "I've been to the other side, and I brought souvenirs." You don't preach anymore. You radiate. You don't fight for attention. Attention orbits you now. Because energy recognizes its source. So when they gather around, eyes wide, hearts racing, whispering, "Who taught you this?" you just tilt your head, grin, and let the silence answer for you. Because no one taught you. You remembered. You remembered what they forgot. That madness was just misunderstood genius. That pain was just compressed power. And that the ones who break the rules were the ones born to rewrite them. And as you turn away, the room holds its breath. Because deep down, everyone knows. They just witnessed a ghost teaching the living how to rise. Listen, very, very carefully, because something shifted the moment you walked in, and every spine in the room felt it snap. You know exactly which moment I'm talking about. The one where their precious star boy, their golden child, their poster kid, their hand-picked trophy, got packed up, folded, sealed, and spiritually returned to sender. While you, oh you, stood there looking fine as hell, like a sin sculpted with perfect timing and bad intentions. And the best part? You didn't even try. That's what terrifies them the most. You didn't break a sweat. You didn't flinch. You didn't crack. You simply existed. And reality rearranged itself to make sure your presence stayed the loudest thing in the room. That's when I knew it. That's when they knew it. That's when he knew it. The Starboy wasn't just defeated, he was erased. And you didn't even need to raise your voice. You didn't need to rage, scream, or claw your way into dominance like the rest of them. You walked through their pride like a whisper that hits harder than thunder. Because that's what you are, a contradiction in human skin. A paradox with a pulse, a halo that smells like gasoline, a demon that knows how to pray, an angel with a patient vendetta. Oh, and the way you moved, my God. You moved like someone who survived something bigger than this world ever documented. You moved like someone whose bones still remember an older, darker language, one whispered by those who endure fire and come out laughing. That's why they hate you. That's why they fear you. That's why they watch you the way a priest watches a prophecy he hoped would never awaken. You weren't supposed to glow like that. You weren't supposed to ruin their storyline. You weren't supposed to flip the hierarchy upside down with a single breath. But you did. Effortlessly. Beautifully. Cruelly. You see, the star boy, he lived his entire life thinking applause was proof of talent. He thought validation was the same as destiny. He believed his popularity could protect him from someone like you. But you don't operate on applause. You operate on consequence. You don't need validation. You are validation. And destiny. Destiny looks at you like a loyal dog waiting for your next command. So when you walked in with that quiet, lethal confidence, that calm face that said, "I know something you don't," they already sensed their golden child had seconds left before the collapse. And when it happened, when they watched their beloved star boy get spiritually escorted off the stage of relevance, they didn't cry, they didn't shout, they didn't even blink, because they were too busy staring at you, at the smirk pulling at the corner of your mouth, at the posture of someone who knows the universe bends itself around their movement, at the eyes of someone who's not here to compete, but to rewrite the entire environment simply by existing. Oh, they saw it. That dangerous mix of beauty and violence, that calm wrapped in chaos, that saint-like face hiding a demon with perfect etiquette, that charm that smells like danger, politely waiting for permission. They saw how the room reacted to you, how their breath synced with your presence, how their subconscious folded in half trying to process what you are. Because you didn't just pack up their star boy, you upgraded the whole damn atmosphere. You made them realize something disturbing, something they whispered like a confession. This wasn't luck. This wasn't coincidence. This wasn't an accident. This was you, unfiltered, unmasked, unbothered, unapologetic. And the scariest thing, they know you're not even at full power yet. They've seen nothing. You've shown nothing. You've revealed nothing. All you did was walk in looking fine, composed and calm, and someone's whole legacy got folded like a cheap lawn chair. So imagine, just imagine, what happens the day you decide to actually try. Imagine what happens the day you stop dimming your magnitude for their comfort. Imagine what happens when you let the world see the full spectrum of what's been boiling inside you. They watched their star boy get obliterated by a version of you that was operating at maybe 7%. What happens at 8%, 10%, 50%, 100? No, forget numbers. You don't do percentages, you do phenomena. And they felt it, the tremor, the shift, the arrival. You didn't come to fit in, you came to disrupt, to dismantle, to destabilize every fragile ego, pretending it belonged on your level. And you do it with a smile, with beauty that feels like a warning label, with confidence that tastes like prophecy, with a presence that smells like the beginning of a rain they can't stop. So let them whisper, let them analyze, let them panic scroll through your energy looking for clues. Let them wonder how you did it, why you're so calm, why you look so good, standing over the ruins of what they thought would outshine you. They'll never understand, because you don't walk into rooms to compete. You walk into rooms to change the physics. And tonight, you changed everything. Not because you had to, because you were bored and gorgeous and dangerous. And fate itself accidentally stepped aside to let you pass. Now go on, keep walking, keep glowing, keep contaminating air with that aura. They watched their star boy get packed up. But what really broke them, what truly snapped their sanity, was realizing that the whole time, the whole damn time, You were only just warming up. You feel that? That strange hush in the air. Like the room's holding its breath because it knows you're about to unspool everything they thought was stable. Good, because we're nowhere near done. You see, the aftermath, that is where the real truth leaks out. Not during the moment their starboy crumbled, but immediately after, when the lights came back on, the tension snapped, and everyone tried to pretend they weren't staring at you like you'd just rewritten the rules of physics. You walked away, calm, leveled, terrifyingly composed. But behind you was chaos trying to disguise itself as silence. People whispering in corners like they were passing around classified intel, eyes following you with that stunned, involuntary devotion. The kind that happens when a predator shows its true shape in a room full of prey pretending to be lions. And oh, how they tried to hide their reactions, the fake coughs, the sudden need to check their phones, the way their spines straightened like someone just ran an icy fingertip down the whole room at once. Because they didn't just watch a star fall, they watched a new orbit form around you. Do you understand how rare that is? To make a room reorganize its entire gravitational system so subtly that nobody knows whether to bow, run, or confess. You do something to people, something inconvenient, something they don't have language for, something ancient. You don't just walk in, you shift the psychic temperature. That's why their starboy fell apart. He wasn't defeated, he was unmade, unthreaded by the presence of someone who carries too many lifetimes of survival in their bones. And they felt it, every single one of them. They felt the difference between someone who was praised into relevance and someone who crawled out of their own ashes and became inevitable. That's why you looked fine as hell doing it. Because beauty born through pain has a scent. And it's addictive, intoxicating, terrifying, all at once. It's not makeup. It's not smooth skin. It's not posture or clothes or confidence. It's that hollow, divine glow of someone who lost their innocence early and replaced it with precision. It's the face of someone who mastered duality, a smile soft enough to calm a demon, eyes sharp enough to break a saint, a voice gentle enough to seduce a king, a presence strong enough to unnerve an army. You see, they don't understand the cost of that glow. They see the shine, not the shadow that forged it. They don't see the nights you tore your own mind apart to rebuild it stronger. They don't see the betrayals that sharpened your instincts. They don't see the losses that made you quiet. They don't see the battles that rewired your spirit into something too ruthless to break. All they saw was the surface, the dangerous calm, the intoxicating charisma, the way you carried yourself like an angel that crawled out of a grave with perfect eyeliner and a plan. They saw beauty, but what they felt, what made their skin crawl and their guts twist, was the power inside that beauty. The contradiction, the duality, the paradox of a being sculpted equally from miracles and violence. You're not supposed to exist. People like you, who move like destiny in human form, are not part of the natural order. You are the glitch, the exception, the variable no one accounted for, the phenomenon that rewrites all predictions. And that's why their star boy fell. Because he was built. You were forged. He was trained. You were transformed. He was protected. You were exposed to the wolves until you learned to make wolves nervous. His victories were orchestrated. Yours were carved into the walls of your psyche through blood and willpower. He shined because of attention. You shine because of pressure. And beauty born through pressure? It hits different. It lingers. It radiates. It scares people. That's the part you never see. the way they look at you when you're not looking, like they're witnessing a miracle that threatens everything they believe in. Because when you pack someone up, it's not cruelty, it's not ego, it's not pettiness, it's alignment, a cosmic correction, a reminder that not everyone gets to sit on thrones built on hype. And deep down, they know the truth. Their star boy never stood a chance, not against someone who has survived things that would have turned him into dust, not against someone who carries elegance in one hand and devastation in the other, and can choose either without raising their voice, not against someone whose beauty isn't shallow, but sharpened, weaponized, engineered by every battle you won quietly. And now they can't unsee it. They can't forget it. They can't undo what they witnessed. You walked away, and the whole room felt smaller without you in it. Smaller, duller, insignificant. Because the moment their starboy got packed up, they realized something they'll never say out loud. You weren't trying to win. You were trying not to expose how far above them you already are. And that is the part that keeps them awake. The fear that the version of you they just witnessed was only the warm-up, the preview, the hint, the real you, the one still simmering beneath that calm, fine-as-hell exterior, is something this world isn't prepared for. So keep walking, keep glowing, keep making rooms recalibrate around your presence. They watched their star boy get packed up. But the truth is, he was never the danger. You were, you are, and now everyone knows it. Ah, there it is. That silence gnawing at the edges of your awareness, not the soft, peaceful kind. The charged kind. The kind that happens right before an explosion. The kind that wraps around you like a velvet rope at a crime scene. Because everyone knows you're not done yet. And you feel it too, don't you? That slow electric hum rising under your skin like something ancient is stretching inside your bones, waking up, uncoiling, remembering itself. Good, because what comes next is the part nobody was prepared for. When their starboy fell, it wasn't just embarrassment. It wasn't just humiliation. It was symbolic. It was the universe performing a public demonstration. This is what happens when a candle tries to challenge a wildfire. But what truly broke them, what shattered their worldview into glittering little pieces, was the way you stood there afterwards. Not triumphant, not arrogant, not loud, just devastatingly composed. Like the entire event was nothing more than a minor inconvenience, like packing up their starboy was equivalent to fixing a crooked painting on the wall, like you weren't even warmed up yet. And that look, that stillness, that soft, devastating calm, it sent a message louder than any scream. This wasn't effort, this was restraint. Do you understand how terrifying that is? A room full of people, shaking internally, trying to process the idea that what they just witnessed was you holding back. They'll replay that moment for months, years, maybe forever. The way you tilted your head slightly, as if observing the collapse of their golden child was nothing more than an interesting visual. The way your eyes softened, not with pity, but with recognition of a lesson being delivered exactly on time. And God. The way you looked doing it. That's the part they can't talk about. The part they bury. The part they pretend didn't swallow their attention whole. Because you didn't just dominate. You radiated. You glowed with the kind of beauty that feels like a psychic violation. The kind that whispers, "You were never meant to stand beside me." There's something cruelly elegant about looking that good while dismantling someone's reputation. It's not intentional. It's not vanity. It's the natural consequence of someone whose spirit sharpened itself in the dark. until the light had no choice but to bend around them. Your beauty is a side effect of survival, a symptom of evolution, a halo forged from everything you weren't supposed to overcome, but did, alone. And they know that. Even if they can't articulate it, their DNA feels it. You don't look powerful. Power looks like you. And here's where the real panic starts. After you walked out, they didn't gather around their fallen star boy. They gathered around each other, whispering, debating, wondering. If that was them doing nothing, what does it look like when they finally decide to rise? You turned their favorite toy into a cautionary tale and made it look beautiful. You turned their confidence into a rumor and made it look easy. You turned their hierarchy into confetti and made it look like art. Because you don't follow rules, you reset them. You don't take space. You own the atmosphere. You don't intimidate people. You force them to confront their limitations. Even now, somewhere in that room, someone is replaying your face in their mind, trying to understand how someone can look like salvation and destruction at the same time. Someone else is blaming the lighting because it's easier than admitting you simply outshined their whole mythology. And someone is sitting in the dark, realizing they felt something they weren't supposed to feel, watching you dismantle their star boy with lethal grace. Because what you did wasn't domination, it was revelation. A reminder that beauty without power is decoration, but power with beauty, that's a weapon. A reminder that the universe doesn't elevate the chosen, it elevates the proven. And you, my dear paradox, you've been proving yourself for far too long to go unnoticed anymore. So let them gossip, let them obsess, let them whisper your name like a secret they can't keep or kill. Because one truth is sinking into their bones, sinking deep, sinking permanently. Their star boy was a spotlight, but you're the entire sky, and the sky doesn't compete, it just exists. And everything beneath it adjusts. So keep walking, keep glowing, keep breaking the expectations they built to protect their egos. You didn't just look fine as hell while packing him up. You looked like the beginning of a reality they're not ready to live in. Now breathe, because the world hasn't even tasted your actual power yet. And here's the irony that's been clawing at their minds ever since. The piece they can't swallow, can't ignore, can't outrun, no matter how many excuses they invent. You didn't come there to win, you came there to witness. And the room rewrote itself in your presence anyway. That's the part that keeps looping in their skulls. Not the fall of their star boy, but the rise of the one who didn't even announce themselves. Because your evolution doesn't walk. It arrives quietly, calmly, like a storm that doesn't need thunder to convince anyone it's here. And the thing about storms, they don't compete with umbrellas. They erase them. That's what you did, simply by existing. And you know what? There's a moment. Maybe you felt it, maybe you didn't. Right after the room split open with that silent shock, when everyone realized something far more dangerous than a simple loss. You weren't the opponent, you were the standard. And their star boy, he wasn't beaten, he was measured against someone the universe sculpted out of contradiction and consequence. Someone who carries light like a wound and darkness like a birthright. Someone who can smile softly and still terrify the entire atmosphere. Someone who walks with elegance but leaves psychological craters behind them. Someone like you. That's why the moment is burned into their memory. Not because you dismantled him, but because you did it while glowing, like a warning wrapped in temptation. Beauty with bite, grace with gore, halo with fangs, a walking paradox. And paradoxes don't lose. But here's where the story ends. Not with applause, not with triumph, and not with some neat moral lesson. It ends with realization. Theirs, that they just watched the wrong person fall. Because the real danger, the real threat, the real force in that room was the one who didn't celebrate, didn't flex, didn't brag. The one who simply walked away, and yours. That you don't need permission to rise, you don't need validation to glow, you don't need a spotlight to dominate. You are the aftermath and the prophecy and the quiet inevitability wrapped in human skin. So let this settle into the bones of whoever dares to remember it. They watched their precious star boy get packed up. But what truly broke them was realizing the universe is already rearranging itself around you. And now that they've seen it, now that they've tasted the truth, there is no going back. Walk forward. This world doesn't just fear you. It's beginning to orbit you.